Okay, let's jump in. Today we're doing a deep dive on government accountability, and we're zeroing in on a really huge Supreme Court decision from 1978, Monell v. Department of Social Services.
Huge is the right word. I mean, this case completely changed the game for anyone trying to hold a city or county responsible when their civil rights are violated.
And the law at the center of this is Section 1983, right?
Right.
That's the tools citizens use.
Right. 42 U.S.C. Section 1983. It lets you sue state actors for constitutional violations. But for years, there was this massive roadblock.
A roadblock? What do you mean?
Well, before Monell, there was another case, Monroe v. Pape from 1961, and it basically said local governments were, and this is a quote, wholly immune.
Wholly immune, so you just couldn't sue your city at all?
You couldn't, even if a city employee clearly violated your rights. The city itself was untouchable. Monell just took a wrecking ball to that idea.
So how did they do it? How did the Supreme Court tear down that wall?
They went back to the history, to the original 1871 Civil Rights Act. And they figured out that Congress actually meant for local governments to be considered persons under the law.
And if a city is a person, it can be sued.
Exactly. You can sue it directly for money or to get a court to order it to stop an illegal practice.
Okay, but here's where it gets tricky, and this is, I think, what everyone needs to understand. You can't just sue the city because one of its employees messes up.
No, absolutely not. That is the critical limitation. The government itself has to be the one that caused the harm. It has to be the moving force behind the violation.
The moving force. So how does a citizen prove that?
Well, the court laid out three main ways. The first is the most obvious, an officially adopted policy, a written ordinance or regulation, something on the books.
Right, something codified. Easy enough to point to. What's the second way?
The second is a lot tougher to prove. It's a widespread governmental custom.
A custom, so
Yeah.
not an official rule, but just the way things are done.
That's a good way to put it. It has to be a practice that's so permanent and well settled that it basically has the force of law, even if it was never formally approved.
And I have a third way.
A single decision made by someone who is a final policymaker. Think a police chief, a department head, someone whose decisions represent official policy for that area of government. But the one thing the court absolutely rejected, and this is part 2 of the opinion, was the doctrine of respondeat superior.
Okay, break that down for us.
It's a Latin term, but it just means an employer is responsible for the actions of their employee. The court said that rule does not apply to cities under Section 1983. A city can't be held liable solely because it employs the person who did wrong.
So bringing this into the present day, this whole framework is being tested right now, isn't it? I mean, we're seeing a situation in Los Angeles that seems to touch on all these points.
We are. It involves a whistleblower, Rodney Ruzan, and an incident with the mayor. This is where custom and final policymaker inaction become really, really important.
Tell us what happened.
So on May 19th, 2025, an officer named David Rogers publicly confronted Mayor Karen Bass. He physically handed her evidence of what he alleged were fraudulent documents being used by Los Angeles World Airports and the city.
Wow. In person?
In person. And it was all emailed to her office again later. The key here is that the city's highest official was put on notice.
And what happened? Did she launch an investigation?
Nothing. To this day, there's been no response, no investigation. And the alleged retaliation against people like Rodney Ruzan continued.
So under Monell, how does that inaction create liability for the city?
Because a failure to act by a final policymaker, once they know about ongoing constitutional violations, can be seen as ratifying that conduct. It becomes a kind of a policy of deliberate indifference. The city can't claim it didn't know.
So Ruzan's claim, which is being prepared now, will use this as evidence that it wasn't just a rogue employee, but a systemic problem the city knew about and chose to ignore.
Exactly. It shows the policy, or in this case, the policy of inaction, was the moving force. That's why the original facts of Monell are so helpful. The women in that case weren't harmed by a rogue manager. They were forced to take unpaid leave because of an official written policy.
The institution itself caused the harm. That's the common thread.
That's the bottom line. Monell isn't about punishing one person's mistake. It's about ensuring accountability from the institution itself when it allows or even encourages systemic violations of people's rights.
So when you think about it, Monell empowers people to go after the system. But the challenge, as we see with the LA case, is always going to be proving that line. The line between a series of isolated mistakes and a true widespread custom that the city is responsible for. And that fight happens in our courtrooms every single day.
For taking the time to meet with the fellow members. I come before you today with a sense of duty and humility attention actions that I, along with 3 other LAX police officers, have uncovered involving serious criminal activity by high-ranking LAWA and city officials. Specifically, we have discovered violations under California Penal Code Section 115 and 524 relating to fraud and extortion. We initially raised these concerns with our LAX police chief, Cecil Rambo Jr., who refused to meet all 4 of our officers. Similarly, we brought the matter to the attention of Los Angeles World Airport's Deputy Executive Director of Public Safety, Martin Long. But again, we were not granted a meeting to discuss these serious allegations. Furthermore, we informed the Los Angeles World Board of Airport Commissioners. However, our concerns seem to have been disregarded. The Los Angeles World Airport's Chief Executive Officer, John Ackerman, was also notified of the felonies being committed by LAWA employees under his command. To date, he has failed to address the issue. Additionally, I personally witnessed what appears to be an orchestrated effort within LAWA and the city of Los Angeles to retaliate against a whistleblower officer who had the courage to report these felonies. This includes the weaponization of departments such as behavior science services and work fitness evaluations processes, seemingly used to facilitate the termination of a whistleblower. On May 31st, 2023, I filed a crime report with LAPD Wilshire Division regarding the violations of California Penal Code Sections 115 and 524, fraud and extortion. The report was assigned incident number 23053-1002379. The DR number is 2314-11601. This case was later transferred to LAPD Pacific Division and subsequently forwarded to Assistant Head Deputy District Attorney for the Public Integrity Division, and it's been in his possession since January 2025 for review. In conclusion, I am more than willing to cooperate and to share with you the matters that we are trying to bring to light. But unfortunately, I'm concerned for my safety and my well-being because I feel I'm going to be retaliated for whistleblowing. And I brought with me today, Mayor, a folder that's for your eyes only, which will have the 4 officers' investigation, crime report, and everything associated with what we uncovered with the city. And we just want to shed light to truths that have been going on under this leadership, Chief Cecil Rambo Jr. and Deputy Martin Elam, who refused to meet with officers who were reporting felonies. And I will give this to Nicole Bernard for your review and your eyes only now. Thank you for your time.
Words in papers, words in books, words on TV, words for books, words of comfort, words of ease, words to make the fighting cease. Eat your words, but don't go hungry. Words have always nearly hung me. Words are stupid, words are fun. Words can put you on the run. Concrete words, abstract words, words to tell you what to do. Words can put you on the run.